What's good, Vikings Nation? Buckle up, because we've got some electrifying Vikings news that'll get your purple blood pumping. Kenny Willekes, a former Minnesota Vikings draft pick, just dropped a bombshell on X, declaring he's ready to storm back into the NFL. Is this the comeback story we've been waiting for, or just a long shot for our beloved Skull Squad? Let's dive into this wild journey and unpack what it means for the Vikings as training camp looms. Stick around, because you won't believe where this guy's been and what he's bringing to the table. Kenny Willekes isn't just any player. He's a Minnesota Vikings legend in the making, with a story that screams grit and heart. Drafted in the 7th round back in 2020, this 6'3", 264-pound edge rusher went from a college walk-on to a Big Ten beast at Michigan State. His path to the NFL was anything but easy, and now, after tearing it up in the UFL, he's got his eyes set on a Vikings roster spot. Can he make the leap back to US Bank Stadium? So what's the deal with Willekes' big announcement? He took to X, formerly Twitter, with a post that lit up Vikings Nation. NFL, I'm ready. With training camp just weeks away, starting July 26th at TCO Performance Center, the timing couldn't be hotter. Let's break down his journey, his odds, and why this could be a game-changer for the Minnesota Vikings. What do you think? Can Willekes make the 53-man roster? Drop your thoughts in the comments. From a walk-on at Michigan State to a Vikings draft pick, Kenny Willekes' story is pure inspiration. Back in 2015, he was just a kid grinding for a spot on the Spartans roster, with no scholarship and no guarantees. By 2017, he was a starter, racking up 72 tackles and 7 sacks, earning third-team All-Big Ten honors. That's the kind of hustle that makes you a Vikings fan favorite, right? His college career only got better. In 2018, Willekes led all FBS edge rushers with 23 quarterback hits and 8.5 sacks, snagging the Big Ten Defensive Lineman of the Year award. Then, in 2019, he hit a career-high 10.5 sacks and won the Burlsworth Trophy as the nation's top walk-on. This guy's got the heart of a Viking, relentless, tough, and ready to prove doubters wrong. But can that college fire translate to the NFL in 2025? Here's the kicker. Despite his college dominance, NFL scouts weren't sold. Analysts like Lance Zierlein pointed out his lack of elite athleticism, calling him a high-effort worker bee who thrives on instinct over speed. Yet that's what makes Willekes special, his refusal to quit. Do you think his grit can overcome the odds in the NFL? Let me know what you're thinking, Vikings Nation. When the Minnesota Vikings picked Willekes 225th overall in 2020, it felt like a steal. A homegrown talent with a chip on his shoulder? That's skull material. Unfortunately, his rookie year was wiped out by injury, landing him on injured reserve for all of 2020. But Willekes didn't let that define him. He's been fighting ever since. In 2021, he showed flashes of brilliance, appearing in 6 games for the Vikings and notching 18 tackles and 2.5 sacks while splitting time between defense and special teams. That's the kind of versatility Brian Flores' defense loves, right? But then, disaster struck. An ACL tear in 2022 sidelined him for the entire season, and the Vikings released him in May 2023. Talk about a gut punch. What would you have done in his shoes? Keep fighting or hang up the cleats? Willekes' story didn't end there. He took his talents to the UFL, joining the Michigan Panthers, where he racked up 20 tackles, 4 sacks, and a fumble recovery in 2024. Even in 2025, he kept grinding with similar numbers, though an injury kept him out of the playoffs. Now he's calling out to the NFL. Is this the moment he reclaims his spot with the Vikings? Let's hear your predictions. After the Vikings cut Willekes in 2023, he could have called it quits, but that's not his style. His time in the UFL showed he's still got the juice. 4 sacks and 20 tackles in 2024 prove he's no slouch. Plus, his 2025 season with the Panthers kept him in the spotlight, even if an injury cut his playoff run short. That's the kind of resilience that screams Minnesota Vikings. Now, with training camp kicking off on July 26th, the Vikings' defensive line is looking stacked but could use depth. Harrison Phillips recently talked about new players bringing versatility to the D-line, and Willekes fits that mold perfectly. Could he be the surprise addition to Flores' aggressive scheme? Imagine him rushing the passer alongside Jonathan Allen and Javon Hargrave. Here's the big question. Does Willekes have a real shot? The Vikings lost key cornerbacks like Stephon Gilmore and Shaq Griffin, but their D-line is a strength. Still, injuries and roster battles open doors, and Willekes' special teams experience could be his ticket. What do you think? Should the Vikings give him a call? Hit the comments with your take. Let's talk about the Vikings' defensive outlook for 2025, because Willekes could be a piece of that puzzle. Brian Flores' defense led the NFL with 24 interceptions last season, and they've added beasts like Jonathan Allen and Javon Hargrave to the front. But depth is everything in the NFL, and Willekes' high motor style could shine in camp. Who doesn't love a comeback story? Training camp at TCO Performance Center is going to be a battleground, with a dozen practices open to fans and a night session that's sure to be electric. Willekes' experience on special teams and his knack for finding the ball could make him a dark horse. But he's up against young studs like Dallas Turner and veterans like Harrison Phillips. Can he stand out in that crowd? Vikings Nation, this is where you come in. If Willekes makes the roster, where do you see him fitting? Special teams ace? Rotational edge rusher? Or is he a long shot who needs to prove himself all over again? Drop your thoughts below, because we're all dying to see how this plays out. The Minnesota Vikings are no strangers to taking chances on gritty players, and Willekes fits that mold. General Manager Kwesi Adofo-Mensah spent over $300 million this offseason to build a contender, with moves like signing Will Fries and Ryan Kelly to bolster the O-line. Willekes could be the low-risk, high-reward move that pays off big. What's your take on Kwesi's aggressive approach? Willekes' college tape shows a player who thrives on instinct and hustle, not just athleticism. His 23 quarterback hits in 2018 and 10.5 sacks in 2019 at Michigan State are no joke. That's the kind of production that could translate to Flores' blitz-heavy system. But with only 2.5 NFL sacks, he's got to prove he can hang with the big dogs. Do you believe in second chances for players like him? Let's not forget the fan factor. Vikings fans are some of the most passionate in the NFL, and a story like Willekes could light up US Bank Stadium. Picture him sacking Jared Goff in a clutch moment against the Lions. What's the one thing you want to see from Willekes if he gets a shot? Let's get this conversation rolling. Training camp is make or break for NFL hopefuls, and Willekes knows it. Starting July 26th, he'll have to battle for a spot against a loaded Vikings roster. The team's already banking on Mekhi Blackmon bouncing back from his 2024 ACL injury and Isaiah Rodgers stepping up in the secondary. Willekes' path won't be easy, but his UFL stats show he's still got fight left. Who's rooting for him to make it? His ex-post with the hashtag #First48 is a nod to the 48 active players on NFL game days, and it's got Vikings Nation buzzing. That kind of confidence is infectious, but the clock's ticking. With joint practices against the Patriots and a preseason game against the Texans on August 9th, Willekes needs to show out early. What's the one play you want to see him make in camp? Here's the deal. The Vikings are built to compete in 2025, with a roster that's deeper than ever. But every contender needs players who can step up when injuries hit, and Willekes' versatility could be key. Vikings Nation, are you hyped for this potential comeback? Let's hear your bold predictions in the comments. Let's zoom out and look at the Vikings' bigger picture. This team's got Super Bowl aspirations, with Justin Jefferson leading the league's best passing attack and a defense that's downright scary. Willekes might not be a starter, but his high-effort style could make him a fan favorite on special teams or as a rotational piece. Do you see him carving out a role? The NFC North is a gauntlet, with the Lions coming off back-to-back division titles and the Bears hyping up Caleb Williams. The Vikings need every edge they can get, and a hungry player like Willekes could be a secret weapon. His UFL tape shows he's still got the motor. 4 sacks in 2024 don't lie. What's the toughest challenge he'll face in camp? Vikings News is all about stories like this. Players who fight against the odds to wear the purple and gold. Willekes' journey from walk-on to NFL hopeful is the kind of tale that gets us fired up. So, what's your vibe? Optimistic or skeptical about his chances? Hit the comments and let's debate. Willekes' injury history is a hurdle, no question. That 2022 ACL tear and his 2025 UFL playoff absence raise red flags. But the Vikings have taken chances on players coming off injuries before. Mekhi Blackmon's a prime example, expected to return strong after his 2024 ACL tear. Can Willekes follow that blueprint and silence the doubters? His college accolades, like the Burlsworth Trophy, show he's got the heart to overcome adversity. At 27, he's still young enough to make an impact, especially in a system that values effort and instincts. If Brian Flores gives him a look, could Willekes be the next diamond in the rough? What's the one trait you think he needs to show in camp? Vikings Nation. This is why we love our team. Stories of grit, redemption, and purple pride. Whether Willekes makes the roster or not, his journey is a reminder of what it means to be a Viking. Who else on the roster has a comeback story you're excited about? Share it below. As we wrap this up, let's talk about what's next for the Minnesota Vikings. Training camp is just the start. 12 open practices, a night session, and joint workouts with the Patriots are going to set the tone for 2025. Willekes could be one of many stories to watch, alongside J.J. McCarthy's recovery and Jordan Addison's legal battles. What's got you most excited for camp? The Vikings are all in on a Super Bowl run, spending $357 million on a roster that's loaded with talent. Willekes might be a long shot, but his first 48 mindset shows he's ready to fight for a spot. If he gets a tryout, what's the one moment that could seal his roster spot? Let's hear your wildest predictions. Vikings Nation, this is our time to shine. Hit that like button, drop a comment with your thoughts on Kenny Willekes' comeback, and subscribe for more Vikings news to keep up with all the Skol action. Share this video with your fellow fans, and let's get ready for an epic 2025 season. Skol Vikings!